Welcome back to another edition of Boss Beat. I'm Ben Lichtenwalner. Here we talk about a latte of leadership for those seeking to be or build better bosses in business. And yes, I do like my bees. Each day on Boss Beat, we talk about one of the 7 core principles of great leadership in business. You can see them populating on your screen. And yes, we do use the acronym model of servant leadership. Why? Because it's not just my idea of what makes a great leader or boss. It's not just based on my experience from decades in the field, but it's based on 2 decades of studying great leadership experts, what they say about leadership, and great leadership practitioners, famous bosses, famous historic figures, what they did that made them great leaders. That brought us to hundreds of different attributes, and we distilled them down to those 7 core principles. So you know that what we're advocating is not just pie in the sky academia or theory, it's real world practice. And we know you're busy, that's why we focus on practical and actionable ideas that you can use in the trenches in your workplace. Today, we're talking about the concept of authenticity. What does it mean when you practice the principle of being authentic in the workplace? Each week when we do one of these, each day when we do one of these, we look at a handful of different attributes of each principle. Today, we're going to focus on 3. First and foremost, displaying a servant's heart. Deep down, what is it that moves you? What is it that makes you want to do what you do? Why do you get up in the morning? Many of us are hearing the phrase nowadays about what is your why? And I don't mean to knock that. I think it's a great framing. But what is your purpose? What is your why? If it is to make more money, to get a bigger boat, to achieve fame and fortune, well, there's nothing wrong with that. But you won't be as good of a leader as if your main purpose is to serve others. There are many leaders in this world who are motivated by financial wealth and selfish gains or ambitions. And they may be doing fine, but they're not doing as well as they could be if they had a servant's heart. Second attribute is persuasion. We're not forcing others. We're not convincing them we're not making them do something. It's not a matter of force. Instead, it's a matter of convincing them through transparency, not manipulation, but through transparency about what it is that we are trying to achieve. Honest candor, things like that. That is how we persuade others effectively while being authentic. And the third attribute is credibility. When we talk about credibility, we're not trying to be someone we're not. I always like to think of this scene, the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. The end scene, Charlie Sheen's character, Bud Fox, has turned on Michael Douglas, and after Michael Douglas showed him how to cheat the system and how to do all these criminal activities and get away with it, and Michael Douglas meets him in the middle of Central Park in New York City, punches Charlie Sheen's character, Bud Fox, in the face and says, "Do you think you could have gotten this far with anybody else? I see you and I see greatness. I see you could have been one of the great ones like me," meaning a cheater, a scoundrel, somebody who manipulates the system illegally for their benefit. He knocks Bud Fox to the ground, and he says, "Who do you think you are?" And Bud Fox's character gets up and, wiping the blood off his face, he says, "I guess it's because at the end of the day, no matter how bad I wanted to be you, I'm just Bud Fox." And being just Bud Fox is not bad. It's not wrong. You're fine. You are here for a purpose. You have a mission. You might not be the famous person that everybody sees in limelights, but you can be incredibly successful and you can get far better results with greater leadership by being yourself and who you were meant to be. Now, when it comes to modern examples of authenticity, I'm a big fan of Denise Conroy right now. You can see her LinkedIn profile on the screen. Denise Conroy does a fantastic job of being very authentic. On social media channels, she does videos, she does text, she shares a lot of different ways. But everything she shares is very authentic. Let's look at a couple of examples of what I mean. First, some of the posts that she shared. She reshared Ibram Kendi's post about calling out the racism at that Texas school district right now. And she reinforced it, saying, this is incredible. Can you imagine being so racist? Then she shared also about her own marital relationships, infidelity, her husband's infidelity. And I love this because it shows an incredibly powerful and authentic side of her. She's being vulnerable. Many of you may disagree with that being, something you share publicly. I will say my perception, I'm not putting words in her mouth, my perception is that part of what Denise does is she shares that in a way that humanizes CEOs and CMOs, and she also makes it okay for those who do choose to share about this publicly, while helping them realize that they're not alone. I think that's very powerful and moving. She also called out the Academy Awards for not recognizing Barbie's, the actress, the lead actress, and the directors. She also called out Wayfair's CEO for their lack of supporting employees. Now, I'll also point out here, she uses colorful language. I do sometimes. I don't as much as Denise does. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it helps humanize us as well. You may agree with that or you may disagree with that. Regardless, though, she's being authentic to who she is in how she calls out others and what she says about them. And then there's also the Kite Baby company, right? Of course, we've heard about that in the news. You may have heard about how they denied remote working for a mother whose baby is in the NICU right now. Obviously, that was a huge gaffe. It was just horrendous behavior. But what I like here is she also calls out another angle. She says, hey, look, regardless of that major issue, it's a baby clothing company that only allows 2 weeks for maternity leave. How insanely disconnected is that for the company's mission, along with, with putting into practice what they preach? Again, really a lack of authenticity. But Denise shows her authentic side by being very transparent. Now, thank you, Denise, by the way, for all you do. I think she's a fantastic example. I encourage you to all to follow her. On building these better boss behaviors. How do we build these better boss behaviors in ourselves and those we seek to make better leaders in the workplace, in the trenches? I'm a big fan of Dan Allender's work. Dan Allender is I would say, a lesser known author in the leadership space, but he wrote a great book called Leading with a Limp. And in that book, he says, if you are a leader, it is not possible to be at peace with all and friends with everyone. Now, that's a tough pill for some of us to swallow. Some of us want to have friends, we want to try, we're people pleasers. We want to try and make friends with everybody. However, you can only do that, be friends with everybody, if you are merely a facilitator. There are people in this world, there are people in positions of supposed power or leadership in business where they claim to be leaders, but they're really just facilitating. They're really just processing. They're really just following the steps. Those individuals, they can get away with trying to be friends with everybody. But if you want to be a leader, if you want to be somebody who really achieves great results, who really helps people, teams, and organizations get to the next level, you're not going to be able to be friends with everyone and at peace with everyone. When you do, you end up looking like Michael Scott in the TV series The Office, right? He tries to be friends with everybody and, funny, yes. Practical and actionable, successful in business, no. So you can facilitate and coordinate while being friends, but you cannot lead something new or pioneer for the organization in a new way and still be friends with everybody. So what do we ask ourselves today when we are thinking about how to be more authentic? First, who are you trying to be friends with that is not going to help you take the organization to the next level? Second, who do you need to stop being at peace with to remain authentic to who you are? Ask yourself those questions today and you'll know the answers and you'll know what you need to change in your place of business. And that will help you build better bosses in business, whether yourself or for your colleagues that you are trying to help and serve. Now, if you like this sort of insight, if you like practical and actionable advice based on decades of research and the greatest leadership experts and authors, so you know it's real world in the trenches behaviors you can improve, then I encourage you to check out modernservantleader.com. Pretty much all of my content is free there. I do have some courses you can also sign up for that are paid, but pretty much everything else is free. Until next time, I'm Ben Lichtenwallner. Keep serving.